So, hello together.
Hello together. Hello,
Hi,
Robert.
Klaus. Yeah, today's topic is emergency lighting.
Yes, and there is a new standard. So today we will not talk about the functionality in ReluxDesktop. So we cannot presentate the program, but we will talk about the latest standard in emergency lighting, the EN 1838. And we will show you and just discuss a little bit with you what has changed and what does this means for the implementation which we want to make within in the next short time. Let's say next short time, soon. Soon.
This episode is about the EN 1838. This is the European emergency lighting standard, and this is a quite old standard. It's the origins are going down to 1979. In this year, there was the German standard covering emergency light, and in 1999, this German standard became a European standard across Europe. So from 1999, we have the first European emergency lighting standard, and we had in 2013 the first revision of this standard with a lot of new stuff. And today, this year, or end of last year of 24, we had also the third revision of the standard, and it's getting better and better with each revision, we have to say. And in this episode, we do not go in detail about emergency lighting in general. This is covered by other episodes, I guess minimum one, maybe we have also a couple of them. And so it's not about emergency itself, it's about the standard and about the updates of the standard. So what is new? So in comparison of the older 1838 to the newer, to the up-to-date 1838 standard. So this is this episode. We have a presentation which we can also slightly start, but we have not really an coverage of ReluxDesktop at the moment. But yeah, we will go into the details of the standards. So I will share my screen to show you a presentation with some of the content of the new standard, starting with this slide. Yeah, these are, if you didn't get it from my words, so it's EN 1838, and already in ReluxDesktop we have the 2013 version included. There was also an update in 2018. And in 2018, there was a supplement. There was 3-4 pages with a bit of more details to emergency signs and also about the grid for measurements. This was a supplement, the first supplement, and also the 1838 was also published, at least in Germany, it was published again with 2019 with a date, but this has the same content as the 2013 version. So this is just the same, it's just in supplement pages. There's a bit of more clarification, but not really some difference, no difference in the non-supplement major parts. And the first real change we have by end of last year, depending on the language, we have it in German-speaking areas, we have it up from 2025, so from this year. It was published in springtime, but in the end of last year, it was available in English. And yeah, again, the emergency standard is quite important if you have to deal with emergency lighting. And we will also do the changes in ReluxDesktop, but they are not included today. We just present you the standard and the change of the standard, and we're going to integrate the changes in the next weeks, months. So I guess definitely by this year, you will have it also available there. But it's not so many changes you will see in the operations of it. In general, it's the same. So I have to say, in general, we have more or less the same coverage, the same philosophy, the same methodology of emergency lighting, but we have much more details. We have more clarifications. The older standard has a bit of a gray zone, bit of gaps in it. Was to interpret what it means. And in the new standards, it's much more clear. It's more text. It's more volume. It's more from everything. And this is better. You have a better way in the description, and it's also more clear to understand what is to do in terms of emergency. Okay, and let's go into it and check out what is inside. This is a new diagram of the new standard, and this is an overview of all the fields of emergency lighting. And this we had also in the old standard. There was also a table, also an emergency lighting table and hierarchy and classification. What is about emergency lighting? And here we have more details again. So this is the base of the new standard. We have more details in it, and here we see, okay, the emergency escape lighting to escape a zone, to escape a room, to escape a building. We have the classical escape route lighting as the major part. We had an open area, also we call it a lot of anti-panic, also in applications called anti-panic lighting. So area lighting for emergencies. But indoor could also be applied outdoor, but mainly on indoor areas. We have also high-risk task areas. This means if you have a task area, so an operation, an desk, whatever, which hazard materials with some mechanical movements, some big, I don't know, pressure elements, heavy machinery, or chemical stuff. If it's hazard, if it's in risk not to see anything on the desk, on the workplace, then we need this high-risk task area lighting, which has a higher requirements to lighting it. And this is the three major elements for emergency escape lighting, but also to emergency lighting. There's also a local area lighting described, and also a standby lighting. Standby lighting is, in my terms, the lighting which you need in sports area, for example. So to have the normal lighting extended with batteries, with not any delay, not any an outtake, that you can just smooth down the activities and reduce or to replace the light also in hospitals. Yes. For example, we have also and standby lighting in hospitals. Yeah, but yeah, for these details we have specific other standards. So, for example, for sports, there is the 12193, where you have covered also an emergency part. Also, in the beginning of the standard, you have a major part of emergency situations with requirements to the lighting, and also for hospitals we have something, but locally there's not a European standard for this, but there's also local standards, how long, what you need to do in terms of emergencies. But also retirement homes and so on. It's also worth to think about and standby lighting situation to help elderly or disabled people to escape. You need more than just the standards of an escape route lighting. Okay. And here in this table, we can also see we have requirements, lighting requirements. Straight out of this table, we can see we have a minimum illumination level for an escape route of 1 lux. This is the same as in the last standards, and half of a lux in an anti-panic area. This is also the same, and also the 10% of the normal lighting situation for hazard, for high-risk task areas is also the same. With the minimum of 15 lux, it's the same like in the old standard. So there's no change in values, and also no change in the applications. So escape routes, anti-panic and high-risk areas, this is the same. But the details are more in the text below in the standard. There's a lot of more detailed description, what to do, what to measure, what it's about, and what to do. Also, a bit of new is the minimum duration time. This is also more specified according to application, how long you should have the emergency lighting stable. Yeah, the safety science is also kind of the same. Also more details, more descriptions, more links to other standards. Yeah, this is also nice to see and good for us to have more clear applications and know what to do. Maybe one word to the minimum illumination levels. This is in contrast to the 12464. We have here really minimum illumination levels. It's 1 lux minimum. It's not 1 lux in average of the area of the zone. We have to have on the darkest spot 1 lux, and also maintained. Also to point out. So we have in the final state of your maintenance. So after a degradation time, you still need to have 1 lux on the darkest spot. So this is a requirement. It's in the 12464. You have also a maintained value, but as an average of all the quit points. So quit points are also important here, especially on emergency, but this we will cover later. Good. Let's go to the next slide. These are new defined areas in the new 1838. We have just a list of vertical to illuminate objects. So, for example, in fire extinguisher, some health equipment, fire extinguish equipment, alarm knobs, switches. There's a list of objects you need to illuminate with 5 lux vertical. And it's also covered in ReluxDesktop. So in ReluxDesktop, we have also a vertical measuring area to place before and fire extinguisher and alarm switch or whatever. And this is now extended by electrical door release control systems. So think about a big switch to electrical release, open, electrical control door.
Yeah,
it's not really common, but in elderly homes, you have it in hospitals. Yeah,
there is sometimes very heavy doors for fire protection, and so that they can easily be opened. They are controlled by electric.
Yeah.
And now here in this place, so this is now new, also required that you have there 5 lux in vertical, so that the person can find or see this door opener in the emergency case.
Yeah. So this is new, but it's obviously and makes sense also in the old standards to respect this stuff. Everything which you need to switch, which needs to be released in order to allow an escape, an illuminated escape, is relevant. And then we have three points which are new, and there's also a new chapter in the standard. And the new chapter is dealing with special areas which you need to, which need to treat in terms of emergency lighting. Special, a new chapter, and in this we have 3 categories. One is toilets and changing rooms. This is also something where you potentially have done in the past something like an anti-panic area or nothing, or assume there's an escape route. And now it's defined specially, which is good, that we have now a requirement of 1 lux in the area. So a bit more as in the anti-panic area. It's the same level like in the escape route. And of course, in toilets and changing rooms, you have some obstacles. You have a slippery floor. You have and you have people on these areas.
And these are typically areas which are a little bit more difficult to leave as for example, a simple room, like a simple office room or something like that.
Yeah. And there's really much of text for toilets and changing rooms, which is really worth to going through if you're facing these applications, with some points about the amount of emergency luminaires in the room. So if it's a tiny room, you can have 1. If you have multiple rooms, you need to have multiple emergency lights, also to prevent shadow casts and so on. This is really good described, I have to say. This is you can see in this text it's the committee, the working group was really thinking practical in this and had some experience. So this is nice to read. And also public indoor swimming pools. It's also something which were in the gray zone before. And here we have it really good described again with a requirement of 5 lux on the surface of the water, so that you are able to go out of the water in time when you see something.
Yes,
yeah.
I guess the risk that anybody gets in panic when the floor fell out and you're inside of the pool. So maybe it may be a little bit hard if you have just 0.5 lux. If you say it's just a typical
area,
it's just a simple anti-panic area. So for that reason, they recommend now, or we have here now 10 times more light than in a standard anti-panic area.
And it makes really sense to standardize to this 5 lux. It's of course you can assume swimming pools for sports applications. Then you are covered with the 12193. There's also an emergency requirement also for swimming areas, environments. But this is more than 5. This is then also just in timing, but it's sports events, and not all the swimming pools, public indoor swimming pools, are covered by sports activities. It can also just be some fun area or some playground for kids or whatever. And this is a good requirement, and also in good description. Also that you need to cover with 5 lux the surrounding area of the pool and so on. So this is also good to have it in standard. And also the last of the 3 new points are control, also motor switch plant control rooms. So technical control rooms where you have, for example, the central battery for your emergency system, and also the control panel for your emergency situation of firefighting control panels, whatever. You need to cover these rooms like an anti-panic area within half of a lux by minimum. And also you need, also in the text is written that you also need to cover the panels itself, the control switches, desks, also with 5 lux in a vertical situation, that you can see the controls which you potentially need in terms of emergency. Also makes absolute sense to cover this and to describe this and to apply this in the end. So also we have some other new elements. We have an adaptive emergency escape lighting system in the description. This means it's now with this standard possible, according to the standard, also to use adaptive emergency systems. This is something where you can switch and change and edit electronically the escape routes, for example. So they have some luminaires which can have different directions for escape route depending on which escape route you have an obstacle, an hazard, an incident that you need to have another route. It's a bit like in an airplane or something, and this is also now covered in the standard. Makes absolutely sense to modernize this. There are interesting modern systems which helps you to find the shortest route out of an bad situation, and this is also now in the standard for lighting, of course. It's more for the signage. It's also, of course, in the standards of not just lighting levels. We have also a huge part is also dealing with signs and the readability and the visibility of signs, and this is also covered, but there's not a big change in it. It's the same formulas, the same calculation of the viewing distance to a sign and so on. This is the same. What is new is then the differentiated durations. So in the old standard, we have just, I guess, 1 hour, if I remember correctly. And now you have a table where you have, from different applications, different duration times from 1 to 3 hours. This is informative. It's not standard. It's informative. This is a slight difference. And yeah, and it's more about the battery. It's less about the luminaire. It's more about the battery and how long you can last the luminance by the battery. And we have also a differentiated measurement on site system and methodology, also informative. You can see here, I have it just in German. Sorry, it's also available in English, of course, but didn't have it available at the moment. And this is a methodology where you can go for a measurement. So if you have an on-site measurement of the emergency system, You have here now a method where you can say, okay, I have some other lights in the area. I have daylight. I have some spill light in the area, and I have a constant spill light. I have a dynamic spill light, and depending on your situations, you find a method how to measure this on site with differentiation, with factors, with different times in measurement, and you get really helped in detail how to do a correct measurement on site to evaluate what you have on site. And you need to redo an on-site measurement every 5 years according to the standards. Also important to know that you need to remeasure from time to time your situation. Okay, and the biggest change, at least for us in ReluxDesktop.
Yes, for us.
What is changing, Klaus?
Yeah. In the past, we have for the escape routes, the requirement of 1 lux was on the sender lane of the escape route. Mm-hmm. So on the side, we are allowed to use smaller values beside this sender line. And this has now changed, that it really simple says now you have on the complete area of the escape route all the time 1 lux. Mm-hmm. So this by minimum. This makes it for us a little bit more easier to include this special feature, because this interpretation of the sender line was sometimes a little bit hard. For example, in the last on the left side, a picture on the left side, you have to model it with 3 escape routes. Mm-hmm. And now it would also be possible to design an escape route as a kind of polygon surface. Mm-hmm. However, it should be a route. So there is a border when you come from the escape route to an anti-panic area. So if there is no clear way where the persons have to go. But however, it would be possible to have there now various methods to create an escape route inside of the Relux program. We will still have the old one so that you can draw it in the same way as you do it actually, but you will have additionally the possibility also to use this kind of polygons for the escape routes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we had also requirements in the past about the size of the area itself. This is, I guess, slightly changed with the new standards. In the new standard, you have if you have more than 2 meters, you have to have a half of the meter of distance of the sides, not to the door, not to the escape route end or beginning, but on the sides you can have half a meter of an offset if you have an escape route floor with more than 2 meters. If you have less than 2 meters, you need to have a quarter of the total length on each side. So this is also another description. In the past, it was a bit different described of this area, what you can have in offset on the side. And also we found out in the past we have yes. maximum 2 meters.
In the past you have at maximum 2 meters of escape route, and if you have a wider area, you have to place, for example, 2 escape routes.
2 midlines. Yeah.
2 midlines. So we estimate that this it only makes sense that you then not have only 1 thin line where the people are walking. You have 2 and all in each center line you have the 1 lux. Now you have also the possibility to realize escape route, which is, for example, 3 meters in the width or 4 meters or something like that. Yeah. There we made or I made a small mistake in the morning, because I thought it was still 2 meters, but but it was
the past. Yeah.
It is just in the old. It's just in the old standard.
Yeah, but this is beneficial, I have to say, for us in the design and in application, that it's more clear. We have an area. Area is much more easy to describe, to calculate, to deal with, and also to extend. And again, we have 1 lux minimum. This is also let's say, a race of requirements. We need to have more illuminance in this area, which is also good. And 1 lux minimum in this complete area. This is beneficial, but I also think it's not a big issue in lighting design. So I guess normally you reach this lux also quite easy on the complete area. So I guess it's not a big deal in practice, but really beneficial to have really it covered on the complete area, not just on the middle line. Yeah.
The most installations will have a higher level than just this at minimum required. But however, it may happen that in some cases you will now have to deal with your optics or the distance between the luminaires and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, but we are happy with this change and like this change. The next part, this is something where we have some comments. Let's say it's about the grid. So okay, 1 lux minimum. In the old standard, it was in the 2013 without the supplement. It was just written in the lowest point without a definition of a grid. In the old standard, it was just the lowest point, and this means for us, okay, we take theoretically infinite points, so we make a dense grid to identify the lowest point. So if you make just a rough grid of measurement calculation points, then you might lose or do not cover the lowest point. So this was the logic of the 2013 version of the standards. And with the supplement 1, there was introduced the logarithmic grid, which we know from the 12464 quite good. The standard grid for lighting, this was introduced by the supplement 1 for measurement. It was in the supplement 1, it was introduced for a measurement on site. Take the logarithmic luminar standard grid, which everybody is fine in measurement, and do it also for emergency. In practice, I have to say, a lot of guys doing on-site measurement for emergency, really searching for the darkest spot in total. They're not, okay, they might make also gridding, but you search for the darkest spot in general. Okay, and with the new standard, with the 2024 version of the 1838, we have an appendix B, which is informative. It's not normative, it's informative. And in this appendix, we have a differentiation of the anti-panic and hazard work plates. Hazard work plates, of course, it's the logarithmic function to find the grid, because it's adapted from the normal task area. But also anti-panic, which is in larger area. We talk about anti-panic for rooms with 60 square meters in the standard, but also if you have crowded areas where you can have panic situations. So auditoriums, for example, is a good example for an anti-panic area. And it makes also sense to have a grid according to the 12464. So, and here it's written down, you have the 12464 standard grids, the logarithmic function, which you all aware. It's also covered in a lot of standards, not just in 12464. And for escape routes, there's also 12464, but here with a table that we have here, a measuring grid, also in a distance of measuring points according to the length of the escape route from, and you can see it here, not recalculated, but it should be the logarithmic function that you have. If you are, for example, between 10 and 20 meters in escape route, then you have to have a distance of the measuring points of 1 meter. And for stairways, for example, every second step on the front edge, not to cover shadows on this measuring point. And this 1 meter, if you really think about an emergency situation and you have a distance 10 meter is easy to reach, you have 10 meter floor, and then you have a measuring point every 1 meter. And it's also in the standard, it's not just a measurement, it's also for calculation. The appendix B is called calculation and measurement grid or points or measuring system. And 1 meter is for us a bit of a too long distance for a coverage of the minimum of 1 lux. And this is really, it could be dangerous if you assume you have, I don't know, a bucket somewhere in the middle or cleaning stuff in the middle of the floor, and you have every 1 meter a measuring point, and you can easily have something below 1 lux in the distance between 1 meter. And on the other side, calculations on this emergency light is mostly just the direct part of the light. This is easy to calculate tons, a lot, thousands, 10,000 of points in no time for a machine today. So this is not an issue to bring a lot of points. For measurement on site, no question. This is effort to measure the points. But from calculation aspect, we can calculate easily thousands of. We can do it every centimeter, and really identify the darkest spot, the minimum value. So in the standard we have the standard logarithmic grid, but we recommend you to make a more dense grid.
It is a little bit questionable to link the grid density with the size of the complete area, because the problem, it doesn't matter if I have to leave a small room or if I have to leave a large room. It is all the same for me as a pedestrian who want to work out the next 5 meters or the next 3 meters are relevant to see if there is something on the ground. And it doesn't matter if it is then 100 meters I have to go or just 10 meters I have to go.
Yeah, so a clear recommendation, make a more dense grid. By default, you will get the standard logarithmic grid by default, because it's about the standard and you make nothing wrong if you're going with the standard. But again, this is informative, it's not normative, and you can do something else. You should do something else, and you should intense the grid points to 10 centimeters, 5 centimeters, 1 centimeter. The calculation power is there. You do not spend in more calculation time, but you have more values to cover. But of course, you need also to communicate this and also synchronize with the measurement on site. So this also have to be covered somewhere. Okay, and this was the last slide. And I've seen we have some questions, which I will now turn on our screen here and leaving the presentation alone that we see it. No, okay, we see it also. Good. First question. When calculating emergency even operation scenes, small objects always cast shadow as the calculation would be 0. This affects minimum reading with reduced uniformity to 0 and also emergency not valid. Yeah, you should calculate. It's also the same like a normal calculation. You should calculate without any obstacles and objects for your calculation. Remove all the objects or make it a decorative object designer object.
So you must check if it is a design object, make it as a design object, and don't make it if it is an architectural, like a pillar or something, like which is a real architecture, which is in reality there. So you cannot ignore it. But for example, these pictures or the plants or something like that, don't
remove it.
Remove it.
Yeah, it's also according to standard to remove it. If you make measurement, you would also remove everything and calculate it. But also, of course, you have shadows and you have issues if you have too less luminance. It's also good described in the standard to say they also deal with the amount of emergency luminance depending on the size. It's also written in, you need to have by minimum 2 of them in a size more than whatever of 8 square meters.
So this is also related to then if one of them breaks, so that at least you have a kind of backup with an additional luminance.
It's also described with shadow casting. So if you are in the shadow of you have just one luminaire, then you can't see it. You need to have a second one to reduce the shadow problematic, which is also in reality existing, this problem. Okay, next question. In the applications have regulated emergency standards, but what about outdoor, especially industry side exteriors? Is there everywhere meant to be panic area, which is needed 1 lux?
It doesn't matter if you are indoor or outdoor. The emergency lighting is that you are following an escape route, and for the escape route you need one lux. If you are in an open area, even if this open area is outdoor, then you will have and you have just to go your way to the escape routes or to the escape exits, which is illuminated by the emergency signs, then you will have at least 1.5 lux on these open areas or anti-panic areas. So, and at least there's no difference between in and outdoor.
Yeah, it's a universal standard. In Germany or in Europe, we have often outdoor staircases just for an emergency situation. So there's a rule, at least in Germany, that you have to have 2 staircases in order to build up from, I don't know, a different amount of storage. And the second staircase is sometimes outdoor and not really used, just in emergency situation. And even this outdoor rough staircase you need to cover with this escape route, even if it's outdoor. Of course, in outdoor situations, you have different kind of hazard situations, because you do not, in indoors, you need to escape to come out of the building which is collapsing or burning, whatever. But of course, in industry areas, outdoor, you have also the same hazards. There can also be some incidents, and you need to go away from this area. And of course, you need also to have an escape route outdoors. Yeah. Okay. The next one. Is it a self-illuminated exit sign with the illumination output of the contributes to the emergency calculation, or shall we be default switch off for emergency calculation, shed relay somewhere designed to emergency light? You can use it also if it's connected to a battery system. So if the exit sign, which should be the case, also then you can also take it into account for calculations. It's also covered in the standard, in the new standard. In the old, I'm not sure, but in the new one, it's definitely written in. You can take it in.
But you should take care that these are 2 different points. The one is the emergency sign and the illumination of the emergency sign, that you can see the emergency sign, and the other point is that you're using an emergency sign to illuminate an escape route or an appendix. Sometimes we have this functionality is mixed in one product. So, but not in any case. And
yeah, you need to be sure that it's also applicable for this.
And sometimes the people estimate that the emergency signs are using as a similarity for the escape route lighting, which may be done by the same product, but typically or not in any case.
Yeah. Also, this if the sign is illuminated to make the sign visible, there's also a rule for the maximum luminance in order for glaring. So it cannot have enough energy to cover an large area, but you have below an open part which can illuminate the floor. There's also glaring rules in the emergency situation. Okay, is there an easy way to calculate stair emergency illumination in Relux? Does it have to be creating multiple planes and group them together? You have to create a staircase, stair by stair, and to put calculation points on the stairs and group the calculation points. I don't see any other method.
At the moment, I don't remember. Do we have emergency calculation points, single points in the program?
I'm not sure.
I'm also not sure at the moment. So this is, but we will check it, because it may be an interesting point, especially for these things, not to because we have to check all the points, so it doesn't matter if it is on a surface, so we can group them together and put just single points on the staircase. So this may be an helpful tool. We will take a look on it, and maybe we can implement it together,
especially with the new standard, which have every second with
the points at the
I personally use surfaces, calculation surfaces on each stair and each step on the stair, and having more points. Same the discussion. I want to have more points, more measuring data on the staircase, and not just single points. It's personal. I have a lot of questions. I'm not sure if we can cover everything. Next one, how to select the right product. Yeah, there are special luminaires just for emergency situations, and there are also special luminaires just for escape routes with interesting optics.
But I
20
realized
meters with one luminaire.
we have to. We have also to. We have this distance calculator for emergency for escape routes, but this is calculating just the center line. And we
have also to think about.
We have to remember this and to to change this algorithm
to make it wider in the end. We have on ReluxNet, we have a couple of emergency specialized manufacturers and products. And also depends on the battery strategy. If it's centralized, is it single battery? There are tons of different systems to do this. It's not an easy part, and you have not so many different products, I have to say. Okay, the next. When will Relux be updated to the latest EN? We have tried to cover this in the beginning. It will take us a couple of weeks, but we are quite sure that we will get it done by this year. At a certain point, it's not so many changes. You have seen it, but we have to do the quitting, the measuring areas, the print outputs, and we need.
There's also a little bit a question if we allow the old system and the new system for the escape routes.
I guess we need it to have cover both in a way and to switch between both, and
that makes a little bit.
But it will be soon. We need to do this, and you can do it also today, but you need to do it manually. These areas and interpretation of it, of course. Next question: design object would be do, but when importing large 3D objects, it doesn't allow to change the single object to design object, but the whole model, which is too hard to do. Can we select individual modeled objects in the large 3D model? It depends on the 3D model, actually.
Yeah, but if you imagine you import a complete building, and in this complete geometry, you have also the plans and the pictures and the cups inside of it, and then you want to isolate them. So
it's down to the 3D object. You need. There are good 3ds modelers. Blender is for free. Open up Blender and delete the buckets from the floor and the obstacles which are not into it. It's relatively easy to do, and then import it. Or you need to split up the model by yourself. So we have limited options in Relux. If you have just one object importing, we have limited modeling tools on 3D objects.
So problem in general that we have.
You can try to subtrate. You can use Boolean operations also on imported 3D objects and try to cover the room with a big cube and subtrate the cube from the imported 3D object. This may be worth to try. But we have not really more options as Boolean operations for 3D objects manipulations.
There is one. Yes.
This one?
First, this one.
Okay. Measurements after 5 years with measurements grid to use. Measurements after 5 years. Which measuring grid to use? Considering that after 5 years there will be other furnitures in the room, you need to extinct all the furnitures. The furnitures need to go away for any measuring, except as it's fixed down and it's part of the room.
It's also a little bit the thing. In the standard, it is now allowed that you use the first to calculate with the first interflection. This is also a little bit kind of discussable. And we would still, you have the possibility to do it, but we recommend you to use just the direct part. So then so it doesn't have any effect in which color your walls are painted or something like that, so that your emergency lighting will work in any case. You should only use this first interflection if there is a real special situation, sometimes in special buildings or something like that. And otherwise, you have to take care about what happens with the reflections of the wall. So we have here at the moment 70 or 80%. But if now next year comes anybody and think now black is beauty, you may have in this in the case of emergency lighting, it's a kind of safetiness and
Also in the new standard is also an part of the measurement for continuing measuring after 5 years. It's also described that you can limit down the calculation points to, I'm not sure how much, but there's a limitation of the effort to remeasure after 5 years. It also there's an article of this which should help to reduce the effort. Okay, next question. Will the fine raster in the emergency calculation be removed? We didn't want to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's however, it is a little bit. If you imagine to be on the safe side, it would be fine to have this finer grid, much finer than the recommendation now. But now in the standard, they have now written in it, we should use this grid. I guess we will choose something in between. We should limit to a series, but not so restrictive as we are in the past.
Yeah, something which you can investigate as a user.
Yeah, it is a little bit. It is a little bit more relaxed because we now the requirements are 1 lux on the complete area. In the past, it was just between on the center line. And if you imagine now, if you take a look, this typical escape route luminaires, and then from one they work to a long distance, and then from one point they stop working, and so then you fell down. So on 1 meter on your escape view, you have 1 lux, you have here 1 lux, and here in the between you have just 0.5 lux or something like this. And this is just on 1 meter. And so for that, it may be helpful. So we will make some texts how it works, and then maybe we can also give two options or something like that.
Yeah.
And however, it is still the problem. If you have a real large area, like a big hall or something like that, and then you want to print out the table, this was mainly the problem. The people want to see a table, and then we have a problem to put in all these points in to visualize this on a table. And for that, it may happen that we still have to use something like the fine grid, that you still have a larger things, and then you will say, okay, these are interpolated values, but between these large interpolated values, you will have lower values than the requirements.
Okay, and that's all for the questions. A couple of more what we can't cover at all. Thanks for your questions, thanks for your interest, but we are running out of time. Yeah, so it's the last thing to tell is about the next episode. Our next episode is episode 50 on the 30th of October. So also then a Tuesday again, a Thursday again, not a Tuesday like today. This was an exception. So next date is again a Thursday, the 30th of October. And yeah, and we will cover the topic Relux Sports. Yeah, and we will show you the latest Relux Sports developments we have integrated, and yeah, and show you what we have done for the sports. Okay, then thanks much.
Thank you.
See you
Bye.
soon. Bye bye.
Next time.